You are tuned into Locked On Royals in the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, and you can find me on Twitter at JohnnyJ_15. That's at JOHNYJ_15. And you can catch us on wherever you get your podcasts. That could be Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, Odyssey, and YouTube. Just be sure to hit the follow button and subscribe. For the first time listeners, just to let you know, our channel is daily. Very, very busy. We've got episodes coming from me Monday through Friday, 30-minute episodes at that. We also bring you 60-second YouTube shorts after each and every Royals game. We also bring you the Royals postcast, which is hosted by Chance Lebo, and he will be broadcasting live after each and every Royals game for about 15 minutes or so. So if you come to our channel, there's pretty much no shortage in Royals baseball talk. And leave your comments, leave your questions on our channel, leave it on Twitter, and we'll be sure to get to every single one. Now, before we get started, I want to tell you that today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So get started today with FanDuel. This is a Mailbag Friday, and a reminder to the listeners out there that are brand new to this podcast. You ever want your question to be mentioned in this episode, reach out to me on Twitter or leave it below one of our YouTube videos from the week. So we're going to kick things off here with a question that is coming from Reese. Drew Waters and Nick Lofton have both been better this year, but still think we need a corner outfield bat, other than Kyle Stowers and Taylor Ward, who are a couple of names. Well, some names that I'm starting to dive a little bit deeper on. Jesus Sanchez, who of course is Kyle Stowers' teammate in Miami, has been an above league average bat the last handful of years, brings a power element to the Royals order, and I should say the middle of the order. I like Alex Call in Washington. Years of control. He's more of a late bloomer, about 29, 30 years old, but still getting on base at a very high clip, has a high walk rate, so that's another name to keep an eye out for there. I like Mike Tauchman from the Chicago White Sox. I think that's a good bench bat, a guy that can really work the count, and somebody that might be more valuable to you at this point than maybe Mark Canha or a John Rave off the bench. So outfielder-wise, the two you mentioned are two of the top names that keep getting linked, it feels like, publicly by reporters out there. But Jesus Sanchez makes sense. Alex Call makes sense. And also, I think Mike Tauchman, if the Royals wanted to go work with Chris Getz again, could make sense a little bit for them coming off the bench. This one comes from Cole. Do you think Jack's approach to the plate is better than it was when he came up? And who is the MVP so far this season? Love the channel and keep up the great work. Well, thanks for the kind words, Cole. And I would say that Jack's approach has gotten a little bit better, but he's still going to be aggressive. When I talked to Matt Quatrero last week in one of the post-game pressers, and I asked him about, Jack spitting on some tough pitches, he's working a lot of full counts. He said he still wants him to be aggressive. Like, he's up here to swing the bat, he's up here to drive in runs and put the ball over the wall. So that's never really going to change. But I will say that yesterday, that was the most polished it looked at the plate. It's still 14 games, too small of a sample size, but I also didn't think his approach was that bad when he first came up. He was still hitting the ball really hard and not striking out that much, and he's still not striking out that much about 60 to 70 plate appearances into his big league career. As for the MVP this season, on the pitching side, it's Chris Bubich, and on the position player side, it's going to be Michael Garcia for me. This one is from Beeve. Why do I have a weird feeling that Michael Garcia will end up being snubbed as an all-star and somehow he doesn't get in? Will it be the biggest snub of the all-star selection? Anyway, love the show. Again, thanks for the kind words. As for Garcia, it'll be pretty tough to keep him out if he's top 10 in hitting. If he's still hitting 315 to 320, I believe that he and Bobby Witt Jr. are going to get in, and those would be the two representatives that are locks. Pitching side, I believe it's going to be Chris Bubich. And then, as I said earlier this week, I think Carlos Estevez has a really good chance if he's leading the league in saves at that point and has a sub-2 ERA. If he does get snubbed, it's because Jose Ramirez and Alex Bregman are going to be on the roster, so you have two third basemen there. But I believe he could make it as like the super utility guy at worst. But as of right now, I mean, you're not wrong in thinking that he could be snubbed just because he's having a breakout year and he's still flying under the radar a little bit. But I'd be pretty surprised if he wasn't selected to the All-Star game this year. This one's from Noah. Hey, Jack, my buddy Drew thinks Massey should be in the lineup for some of his defense and upside to get hot with the power. Do you think Massey should be in the lineup some? Well, since he's hurt, of course, he can't be in the lineup right now, but I still am a believer in Michael Massey. You go back the last 2 years, and when he was healthy and was playing well, that's a league average bat at second base. And even if he's not an everyday player this year, when he comes back, I would like to see him have some role on the bench. Jonathan India's playing every day at second base. You got Garcia at third, Bobby's at short, and Vinny's at first. So he's going to have to learn how to play the outfield a little bit more, which he's already done. But I do feel that there is some role for him. But when he gets healthy, the big question is going to be, is that helping him long term? Was he hurt all season long? And can he get going for the second half of the season? This one's from DJ Mack. How many trade deadline moves do the Royals make? Do they add more to the bullpen along with a big bat? If so, how many more arms? It comes down to the health of Cole Reagans, in my opinion. If Cole Reagans is not ready to go by the end of July, you might need to look into acquiring another starting pitcher. Somebody to be that swing starter so you can keep Serpa and Daniel Lynch in the bullpen. Read an article from Ken Rosenthal today. The Royals are very reluctant to trade any of their pitching, so I expect them to be aggressive at the deadline. Far more on the offensive side of things than pitching, but to get a swing starter like we saw with Michael Lorenzen last year, that makes sense to me. And then I imagine they go after one bat and then maybe a minor bench bat. So I'm going to call 3 moves right now. That could always change, though, the closer we get to the deadline. This one's from Dylan. Do you prefer having Jonathan India or Garcia in the leadoff spot? I would love to see top 3 of Garcia, India, and Witt, or Garcia, Lofton, and Witt. Thanks for a great show. Again, thank you for the kind words. I like the way the lineup's constructed right now. I like India leading off. I like Bobby in the 2-hole, and I like Garcia hitting 3. Garcia's got 8 home runs. He's driving in a lot of runs, and I feel that's fine to leave him there in the 3-hole. Jonathan India, of course, working back from another little injury that was bugging him. It feels like he's just been banged up all season long. But when he gets going, I feel his best spot would be at the top of the order if everybody else behind him is hitting. If things change, yes, I would like to see Garcia leading off and Jonathan India hitting anywhere from 7, 8, or 9 in the batting order. Jets question, what would your walk-up or closer entrance song be? Oh, man. If it was my walk-up song, I would say Brandy. I'm going to go with Brandy there. And then if it was my closer entrance song, man, that's a great question. I don't want to be too generic here. I would say something like, I'm going to go No Sleep Till Brooklyn by the Beastie Boys. I was going to say Sabotage, but it sounds like I'm going into Sabotage the Game, which would not be a great song for a closer. So I'm going to go No Sleep Till Brooklyn for my closer entrance song. But I love that one. That's always a fun one to answer here on the podcast. This one is coming from William. If another starter gets the injury bug, who do the Royals fall back on? Daniel Lynch, pitching 2 to 3 innings and relying on the bullpen for 20 more outs, isn't that sustainable if somebody gets injured long term? I do agree with you there. They wouldn't go for a bullpen game if somebody was out long term. The options would be Daniel Lynch stretching out into being a starter. You could always go get Rich Hill, of course, from AAA. Kyle Wright, depending where he's at. You could try to see where Alec Marsh is at, but I'm not too high on that at this point in time. So if that were to happen, I'd be pretty confident that they'd be going out there to make a move to acquire another starter. Let's get to one more here before I hit a break. I believe we've only got 3 more to go. So let's get this one from AJ. How long of a leash does Rave and Cags have? Well, Cags is here for the foreseeable future. I don't believe that his leash is short by any means. John Rave's leash would be a bit short if they went out there and acquired another bat, or they were starting to go after some pieces to add onto the roster. Right now, he would be the odd man out, in my opinion. Mark Canha might be the first one off the roster when they make a move. John Rave would probably be the second one if they were to make another move after that. Let's take our first break of the show. When we get back, we still got a lot of questions to get to next on Locked On Royals. You are tuned into Locked On Royals and the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson. Check us out on wherever you listen to podcasts. That can be Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, Odyssey, and YouTube. Just be sure to hit the follow button and subscribe. Want to tell you about one of our sponsors before we move any further. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts, where each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you keep you feeling fuller longer. Now, if you're like me and you're always on the go, I talk about this a lot, but you need a quick snack, you want to get from one place to the other and not wait till the next meal. I cannot recommend Wonderful Pistachios enough. They really do keep you fuller. They got the protein, they're good for you, and they're just such a quick and easy snack. So get snackin' and get crackin' with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more today, and that is wonderfulpistachios.com. Let's get to our next round of questions here, and it's going to begin with Camaro. What record do the Royals need to have between now and the trade deadline for us to be aggressive? I would say that if they are within 3 games of a playoff spot, they are going to be aggressive at the deadline. That's just the energy I get from the Royals. That is the feeling around the team that I get. I'm going to be very surprised if they're within striking distance if they don't do anything or they end up selling some pieces. I really do believe this is a team, if the opportunity is there and they feel they can go on a run in the second half, they are going to be aggressive. So 3 games out of a playoff spot with the state of the American League, that would probably be hovering around 500 or slightly below it, which is exactly where they're at right now. And lastly, this one's from Morgan on YouTube. Then we're going to hop over to Twitter. I love the show. I used to be a YouTube producer for a living and was wondering, have you ever considered having a co-host, which would give a second perspective and maybe just a slightly different voice to the show? By the way, I think you do a fantastic job. Well, again, thank you. People sending a lot of kind words to this Mailbag Friday, so I always love the support, and that's why I love doing this podcast. As for a co-host, I know when I was brought on here, the goal was to just have one voice here and talk about the Royals, but I do think moving forward, especially since Chance is doing the Locked On Royals postcast, we will be doing more episodes depending on what we're talking about with more back and forth a little bit. So we'll have Chance on a couple of times, we'll have some guests on a couple of times, just so we have that different element when things might be a little bit stale. If the Royals are struggling, we're talking about the same stuff over and over again. I am never opposed to having somebody else here to go back and forth with and talk about things going on with this team. If I missed anybody's question on YouTube, please just respond to this video below and I will have it answered by the end of the weekend. Let's jump over to Twitter here. How many home runs, RBIs, and what does the batting average look like for Jack Caglione to finish top 3 in voting for Rookie of the Year? He's probably going to need to get in the 20 to 25 range, drive in anywhere from 60 to 75, and hit over 260, in my opinion, to be in the conversation. That's just because Jacob Wilson is hitting 360 right now. So if he is going to surpass that, he's going to need to be one of the more prolific bats power-wise the rest of the way. But I do envision him getting into the top 3. There are some good pitchers as well. I mean, Noah Cameron deserves some votes as well with the way that he's been pitching. But I would say that he's got a really good chance to finish top 3 in voting if he can reach those numbers. This one's from Michael Garcia Enjoyer. Do you think Kags will be the next Bryce Harper? Fair question. I don't believe he matches up as well. I feel he's going to be far more of a power-first bat than an all-around bat like Bryce Harper was. He's been battling injuries a little bit, so he's not the player he once was. But I always felt Harper was a very well-rounded player, where I feel that, Jack Caglione might be a right field version of a Matt Olson. That name comes to mind, where he's got 40-plus home run power, and that would be a really good sign for the Royals. But that would be a name that I would probably compare him to a little bit more than I would with Bryce Harper. But fair question. I know with him playing right field, he will be drawing some of those comps with the type of power that he has. This one is from Charles. If we make a trade, who would you like to see out of our lineup? I feel the odd man out would be Drew Waters. Kyle Isbell is going to stay there in center field. We talked about the infield. They're not going anywhere. Salvador Perez, Freddie Fermin behind the plate. Jack Caglione's in right field. That opens up a spot for a DH and a left fielder. And Drew Waters is playing left field most of the time, so I would say that he would be the first one out if the Royals were to go trade for an everyday left fielder. This one is from Looks like John, what move do the Royals make next? My pick would be for a corner outfield bat. I believe the first trade they will try to make will be adding to this lineup, and it will be somebody to play left field every single day. You know, Cags is going to be there and right. You know, Vinny's going to be there at first. You need somebody that can hit and hit with power playing over there in left field. So that would be the first move I think they will be making. We brought up some of the names that make sense. You just never really know who's available this early on into the trade discussions. We still got a little over a month to go before that official trade deadline hits. Best Blue Bloods question: who or would you keep Jonathan India in the leadoff spot? I know he's picked it up, but these 0 for games with no on base appearances happen too much in my eyes. For right now, I would keep him there. He does have to get a little bit better than where he's been the last couple of games. And we saw him get hot before he did miss a couple of games with the shoulder subluxation, I believe it was. So he had the shoulder problem, missed a few games, but he was playing well up until that point. He's got to stay around 250 to 260 with a 340 OBP to be valuable in the leadoff spot there. So give him more time. If you can't cut it there, then maybe you do try Maikel Garcia at the leadoff spot. Caleb's question: what would you think of a trade deadline where we add Taylor Ward and Jesus Sanchez? Do you think that would be possible? Probably not possible. I would say one or the other. And probably more likely it'd be Jesus Sanchez because he's got the extra years of control. He's a younger bat. And Taylor Ward's on a team that is still contending right now and is hanging around the American League wildcard race. So I would say Sanchez is more likely than Taylor Ward would be. This one is from Rob. What are the chances of the Royals talking to the Rangers about Adolis Garcia? I'd wondered if Adolis Garcia would be an option for them, but the swing and miss and the back-to-back down years have me a bit worried. He is great defensively, so that's not really a worry in my opinion, but I feel they're going to stay away from Adolis Garcia. Feel they want somebody younger and with a little bit more upside than Garcia is presenting right now for the Texas Rangers. Chance's question, and not Chance Lebo, this is Chance Winchester. When is the soonest you think Carter Jensen will be called up? My pick would be next year. I feel the best case scenario is that by the end of this year, he is the everyday catcher in AAA. And then about the midway point next year, you can look into him being a catcher up in Kansas City. But he has been so good in AA, really is on an impressive stretch right now in the month of June. And I expect big things for him. He's really been a nice prospect that the Royals have developed, and a lot of credit goes to him. But you know, where he was selected, it wasn't a late round pick, but he wasn't a surefire pick, and I feel he's only gotten better each and every year in the system. This one's from MJ Melendez Enthusiast. Do you think Cam Devaney or Tyler Gentry gets a shot before the All-Star break? Doubtful, in my opinion. MJ's hitting 215 in AAA. Gentry not much better. I feel the next player to get a shot on this team will be Cam Devaney. Or you said Devaney, right? Not Tyler Gentry. Or I got that all mixed up there. MJ Melendez Enthusiast asked a question. It was about Devaney and Gentry. All three of them, I'm just going to say no for now. I could see Devaney being a second half guy if Lofton's not cutting it or Rave's not cutting it. But for all three of them, I would say that no, I don't see them being up before the All-Star break, unless there would be an injury, of course. This one's from C Money. Who gets the next extension, Garcia, Bubich, or Pasquatch? My money would be on... Oh, boy. It's tough because Maikel Garcia is having a breakout year, so is Chris Bubich. So who are you more confident in maintaining that? I'm going to say Chris Bubich. I feel they want to keep him up or keep him locked up long term, and pitching is going to be expensive. As for Garcia, he does this for an entire year. He's going to have a really good opportunity as well. So I would say those are the two front runners for an extension this coming off season. Let's get to one more here before our final break. Joshua's question is about the sudden offensive explosion that we had in this series. Do you still think KC trades for another bat before the deadline because of that offensive explosion? Yep, I do see them trading for a bat. I'm very curious which name pops up first and who they get linked to. But they got to keep this momentum going into San Diego before we can really call it an offensive explosion. I know you weren't hinting at that, but yes, I see them adding to this lineup, and it might not just be one bat. It might be two bats when it's all said and done. Okay, let's get to our final set of questions here on a Mailbag Friday. As always, though, if I missed any of the questions on Twitter or they slipped through somewhere, just respond to this YouTube video below and I will have them answered by the end of the weekend. When we come back, our final set of questions on Locked On Royals. You are tuned into Locked On Royals and the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson. You can find me on Twitter at JohnnyJ_15. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. For my pick, Game 7 of the NBA Finals, Pacers and Thunder. The Thunder are an 8.5-point favorite. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of money down on the money line. And for the Thunder to cover that 8.5-point spread and win the series in 7. Should be a lot of fun this coming weekend. Let's get to our next set of questions here. It is going to be coming from Pringles. What prospects would be best to trade right now, selling high with a lower ceiling? If you want an impact player, you're probably going to have to pull from someone in your top 15. I would be all right moving any of the prospects in AAA at this point. Wouldn't be shocked if someone like Andrew Hoffman got dealt in a trade. Really good stuff. Did make his debut a few weeks back, but that's a name that could absolutely get some interest based off that kick change that he has. You look at the catchers and the log jam they have. I still feel that one of them is going to get traded if they pull off a big-time trade. You could also look into guys like Hero Wyatt. It's a younger pitcher, but the way David Shields is pitching, and I'm still a little bit higher on Blake Walters, that might be a name that gets linked a lot. Eric Sarantola is another one. I wouldn't want to see them part ways with Drew Beam. But there are some pitchers down there in the system that you're probably willing to move on from. And I wouldn't say move on, just trade, because moving on would kind of indicate they're just letting them go. But I could see one of those pitchers getting dealt because they have a lot of confidence that they can develop another arm just like that pitcher. This one's from Sam. This might be a dumb question, but with how inconsistent closers have been this season, would we get any value in a Estevez trade? Royals could eat some salary. They could get value. He is tied for the league lead in saves. He's got a sub-2 ERA, and he's not making a ton of money. Like, it's not backbreaking by any means. I just don't see it happening. I see your question is more so about could they get something in return? They absolutely could. But even if the Royals don't make it this year, their plan was to have Estevez as their closer this year and next year. He's got the team option in the third year there, but I don't see him going anywhere. If the Royals don't happen to make it to the postseason this year, they want to run it back with him next year as well. Parker's question, do you think Bobby rebounds and has a similar or better year than last year? What I found that was so interesting in Ken Rosenthal and Will Salmon's article this morning said that Bobby Witt Jr. figured out something with the hitting coaches and some of the other personnel in the Royals clubhouse, I guess I should say. And since figuring it out, he's 7 for 13 and is hitting a lot better, hitting for power, driving the ball, putting together better approaches. And that's always a great sign. Like, he's clearly found out something, and maybe now he goes on a ridiculous tear. But it's going to be tough to top last year. To hit 332, lead the league, 30 home runs, drive in over 100, swipe 30 bases. I mean, that was one of the best seasons we've seen all time. So for now, I'm going to say he doesn't top that, but he might be on the verge of going on a ridiculous tear here with whatever he was able to figure out with his offensive approach. Jerry asks if we could trade for a younger power outfielder with multiple years of control in the offseason, but had to give up either Jensen or Mitchell. Would you do it, and which would you trade? Also in the draft, I would draft one college and one high school player in the first round. I would probably trade Blake Mitchell over Carter Jensen, in my opinion. I feel Carter Jensen's bat is developing a lot, and I saw a lot of similarities with Blake Mitchell and Jensen. I'm not trying to be a prisoner of the moment, and Blake Mitchell's still working his way back from the injury, and Carter Jensen's hitting over 300 in Double-A. But I got a little bit of the bias in me. Carter Jensen's a local kid. I feel he's developed really well, and if they were to trade somebody, I would probably hang on to Carter Jensen and then trade Blake Mitchell and see what the value may be. Wit is King's question. Will Isbell be able to hit above 260 the rest of the year? I'm not going to count on it. Sometimes players like him go through those stretches where they make you believe they're a 270, 280 hitter, maybe a 260 hitter. I feel he'll probably settle back into the 240 to 250 range. But with his great defense, he can still be a two-war player. And I feel you'll take that from a center fielder at this point. Eli's question is, do you think JJ will feel more comfortable parting with top prospects this deadline and off-season since they have 2 firsts to replenish the system? Also wondering, would Cags be eligible next year for the PPI Rookie of the Year comp pick, or will he have reached a service cutoff? Great question on the second one. Off the top of my head, I'm not quite sure. I'll do a little bit more of a deep dive into that for next week. As for JJ feeling comfortable dealing prospects, they always know that if they're going to get a good player, they're going to have to give up some good players in return. That's the way they felt last year as well. I would probably say that with the 2 first-round picks, you might be more willing to part ways with a pair of pitchers in your system because the way you've been able to develop some of those arms. But I feel that he's going in with the same type of comfort level that he had last offseason. They're not going to unload the farm system to go all in this year. But if they are going to make a trade, they want to make sure it's worth their while. It's somebody that's young, years of control, and if some of their prospects go over somewhere else and succeed, you still want to feel that you got a lot in return for the player you know that you acquired. So I still feel that he's dealing with the same type of comfort level there. But I would say that if he is to part ways with the prospects, it's always a good thing to have 2 first-round picks that you can almost replace those players with. And lastly, Walk-A Season's question. Do you think we'll add another arm or a few in the pen, or just stick with what we currently have? Also, is there a realistic chance that someone like Jarren Duran could be a possible pickup? I understand it's highly unlikely, but I like to dream. Can't fault you for dreaming. It's fun. It's a fun part of the trade deadline is you can, kind of workshop some potential trades, some hypothetical trades, and see where it gets you. As for Jarren Duran, though, I don't see the Royals going after him. I don't see Boston trading him, even though they shocked everybody by trading Rafael Devers to the Giants. As for the bullpen, I don't think they need to. They have done such a good job at finding bullpen guys for cheap and developing a lot of the bullpen guys. One of their top relievers is Steven Cruz, and he sort of just emerged as a potential option in spring training. He didn't even break camp with the team. So with the bullpen, with the way they've been developing, unless a cheap option comes to you and you feel you can really turn that player into something special, I don't see them adding a bullpen arm. I could see them adding a pitcher that can be more of a swingman, like you keep him in the bullpen, and then he can spot start if you need him to in the second half of the season. All right, that's going to do it for another edition of Locked On Royals and the Locked On Podcast Network. I have been your host, Jack Johnson. Thank you for making Locked On Royals your first listen today. For your second, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale and find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. And I will say, I know all week long and a little bit of last week we were on Zoom doing this. I'm clearly going through some troubles with my connection. I just can't get StreamYard working correctly. I know yesterday the live stream was fine, but I think because it was live stream, it was a little bit better. Whenever I try to record it, I just constantly lag. So my goal is by the end of this weekend, I got something figured out, but we'll always have Zoom as an option to do these podcasts. It's just a lot better to do it when it's more polished up. We've got our intro, we got our outro, we got our ad banners. So that's my goal. I'm going to try to be working on that this weekend, but the Royals will be beginning their 3-game series with the Padres beginning tonight. It'll be Michael Lorenzen getting the ball for Kansas City. Nick Pivetta is going to go for San Diego. We'll have our YouTube shorts potentially tonight, potentially tomorrow as well. You know the weekend can be a little bit tough for me. Chance Lebo, though, will have the Royals postcast. But as for me, until Monday with a brand new episode, you take it easy, Kansas City.